Hello, hello. What is going on, everyone? Happy Monday afternoon, Monday late morning, whatever day time it is for you here on
Happy
Monday,
Monday
January
time.
26th. It is Banner and Backbone, Palantalk. I'm Nick Paro, joined by my good friend and co host, Shane Yirak of the Firebrand Project. And we are joined today for a discussion around protecting our finances as well as protecting our digital life just in general, and minimizing our metadata, maximizing our impact. One of our old discussion points that we
Absolutely.
like to talk about here. We're welcoming on American Citizen today, a community member, supporter from across the various platforms and different publications that are out there, large member of various different communities. American Citizen, welcome to the show today, and it's good to have you. Can you introduce yourself a little bit, whatever you want to introduce yourself as, and for the audience today?
Well, first off, my name is American Citizen. I got invited to the table.
We're having a hard time hearing
Yeah,
you right
I
now.
have a hard time hearing you.
That better?
Yes.
Yes, that is better.
Yes.
Awesome.
So it's American Citizen for having me on today. I feel like to the kids invited me to the table, so thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you. It's almost like you'll be very clear and then it kind of breaks up just a little bit. So however you had things moved that first time you just moved it around is like perfect.
Keep it right
Yeah, maybe try again.
here. So thank
And this is the fun of doing lives and live streams with everybody. Is
Mhm.
technical issues happen,
Absolutely. All the
and
time.
we work through them to make sure that we get all of our friends and everybody
Yeah.
visible and easy to understand. So I'm also pulling up the chat here too,
Oh yeah.
for everyone who's listening in. Please hit your hearts on Substack, and hit the subscribe in the top left corner. Join us. We've got a good discussion that we're going to try and have today with American Citizen. And just a good discussion in general. We took last week off, and we're back. And so we've got things to talk about today. There's a lot of news that happened over the weekend that we couldn't get to, and nobody is talking about. So first off, American Citizen, I want to give you the floor here because you have some ideas, and I know you are. We're going to make this very clear. No one here is a licensed or professional finance manager. Nobody is telling you how to manage your money, or what to do with your money or with your finances. We're just giving ourselves pieces of information and data points on how we can better protect ourselves as individuals, because it's important right now while the markets are going crazy, while we are in the midst of a new form of economies that is being pushed on us, and how do we protect ourselves during that time, just as individuals, not as licensed professionals. And so with that, AC, would love to have all your thoughts there, and as we can grow this conversation.
Like Nick said, I'm not a lawyer, a financial advisor, tax information search in the field applies to you. So I have some links to it. Of post, and it says,
It could be a connection, like it could be a connection issue. It's like almost intermittent. Like you'll come through very clear and then it'll like break up. And so it's hard to discern uh what you're saying.
I have it on speaker.
It's on speaker. Would it be possible to maybe put it to your ear? How's that?
Better?
Is that better? Can you hear
I
Nick?
think so.
Talk like this.
Okay.
I'm not a financial.
It's improved.
And if we have to work out technical difficulties and get AC back on, and make sure that we have all the audio and stuff set up correctly before the show, we can definitely do that. I don't want to. I don't want to fight tech issues, but I want to make sure, and I want to make sure AC gets this information out there because
Yep,
it's important
absolutely.
about it with Lev Parnas before. I know you've discussed this, and Shane and I speak with Lev as well, and we know the importance of these issues. And I want to make sure you get like the time and space you deserve. So I want to let's try this one more time, and then we'll see if we can. If we have to, we'll get you fixed.
Restart or whatever we need to do to figure this out.
Yeah, we'll figure this out. So AC, let's try that. Let's try again because I definitely want to hear what you got to say today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'm not a tax guy. I'm not.
Okay. It's like
It's so weird. It lets her talk first. It lets AC talk for a second, and then it just cuts out.
like
I don't
garbles.
think it's a you issue at all, AC. I think there's a tech issue going on behind the scene that is basically cutting you out. I don't
very
actually know.
interesting. Like if your connection and you said you're on speaker, have you taken it off speaker? It's literally the only thing because like sometimes that'll happen if it's off speaker. Maybe it'll swap the microphone.
Can you talk?
Oh, it's so close. It's killing me.
Yeah, it's
like here.
It's brutal how close it is.
So
Okay. So what I'm going to do, AC, is I'm going to pull you off the screen, I guess, for now. We'll re-invite you for next week for our show, or do a special during the week if we can with you. Maybe do it on Substack itself rather than through Restream, and then we'll stream the discussion on our other platforms if that sounds okay with you. Because I want to make sure you've got the space to say this because it is important. And I don't want to get stuck on technical issues, unfortunately. Like that sucks. It's a rough start.
We'll figure it out. We'll make sure you get if you could leave and just try and reconnect. Let's check all of our boxes. You can always leave and come back. So just leave the call and come back. And you can come back to that link. Let's try everything before we have to do that.
Yeah, before we have to cancel or reschedule for AC, because we're going to keep our show going no matter what. Whether technical issues bog us down here in the beginning, that's okay. This is a live show. This is what we do. We deal with this all the time. And while AC is rebooting and working to come back in, I wanted to pull up a note from this weekend that I put out that let's try one more time here.
Come on.
All right, AC, let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, that sounds better.
I've got you on headphones, so
yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Technology is now winning.
So first off, thank you very much for having me on here today. I really appreciate it. And again, I'm not a tax guy. I'm not a financial guy. I'm not a doctor. I just have some general information that I've read from places like. It's data points, you guys. When I went to my financial advisor to get my, financial life in, I guess, changing everything over for this new economy, I guess is how you'd say it. I said I was very concerned about a crash in 2026. And when I went to my financial advisors about that, they were mansplaining to me, and the stock market is great. And so what I did is I put together a letter so that I could talk to my financial people and have them actually listen to me. And this is information that you could use. I'll add the link later on here so that you could do so as well. Basically goes over things like stating that there is an AI data bubble based on NVIDIA, and it's kind of like Jenga. NVIDIA is on that bottom block. When you pull it out, the whole thing goes kerchunk. Well, stock market will chunk, and that's what the Bloomberg article went over. And in the beginning of November, SoftBank of Japan, which is kind of like our Vanguard. It is huge and it always pulls before recessions, depressions. They pulled almost all their NVIDIA stock. Peter Thiel, Peter Thiel, he pulled all his NVIDIA stock in November. Then you have things like November 17th in the New York Times, they gave an article, and in this link, you actually have like, here's the title of the article, here's the authors, here's the date. And it said, that they are softening regulations on the Fed, make it harder to see bank failures, and that it was pre-2008 regulations which led to that crash dash, leading us to the next crash. Like, it's not verbatim, but like that's pretty doggone close to what it said. And in the letter, it is verbatim. And it has information in there like the fact that if I put this in JP Morgan at the beginning of December, their gold family members were told they have to leave and go to Singapore in like a week. Why are you taking your whole gold desk and getting them to a country that's non-extradition in 1 week? I feel like that is, I don't know. I feel like when you're on the island and all the animals are running to the opposite side of the island, there's a reason something's going on that you're not seeing. And then there's information like, rises right before. There's two different times, and one is now, the other is before recession, depression. And if you guys and copper through the roof, because if they tank our dollar, those hard assets will still have a value to them. And the reasons you might want to, look into dollar devaluating is when we went into Venezuela, that is upsetting people when they're just killing people in just Venezuelans, other South American people. So Colombia has stopped using the SWIFT system, which is the US dollar, using BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So if they're not using the US dollar, it will devalue it. There are a number of different reasons to look into this. So in this letter, it gives you all these data points, and it says, you're not a financial advisor, because I'm not either, but for the above reasons, you think kind of recession, depression coming, and that you would like your company to look at reallocating your company retirement portfolios so that if such an event occurs, maybe instead of losing, 80%, you lose 20% of your funds, right? It's about protecting your assets. And you could send this in. You could also, if you want, just be a good Samaritan and send it to a lot of organizations. And what you do is this letter sent to your HR department, they would reallocate it to whatever department is dealing with your company retirement funds to try to protect them. Because the billionaires are gunning for us. They're not going to come for us, right? They've taken our FEMA, they've taken our healthcare, they've taken our food assistance. So the only people who are going to be able to put back into our communities will be us. And if the economy dumps and we have nothing in our retirement accounts, we can't even help each other. So it's very important to do that. At the bottom of this letter is a link to another letter. You can copy and paste it. Also send it to your HR departments, because of the different changes in our government, like the HR1 big bill for the billionaires that passed in July. It is going to cut, because of the deficit, it hits another bill, pay as you go. And so next December 2026 that's coming up here, $500 billion for Medicare for the elderly. You already see the ACA cuts. The ADP put out, I think it was in November, something like 1.1 or 1.2 million more people were unemployed in 2025 than were in the previous year. This year will probably be worse. All these people are unemployed, all the people that are in ACA who can't afford their healthcare insurance anymore, they will be going to ERs. And when they do so, that cost will be amortized over all of us next year. So we will not be able to afford our healthcare, many of us, even if you have private insurance, if we keep doing business as usual. However, this letter goes over that above information, which I just stated. And for these reasons, could your company look at a way of helping with healthcare next year? And that would be three things. One, if your company could get you catastrophic healthcare insurance. That way, if you have a heart attack, if your family gets in a car wreck, you're still taken care of. Then actually, and if you're at a small company, send this to large companies, because the small companies could use it. Large companies put some resources into expanding what's called direct physician care networks, which is doctors who don't use insurance. That right. If they build these networks out now, even the smaller companies can use them. And that might be something like $3,600 for a family of 4 for the year. And that's your annual physical, that's your annual blood work, sick visits. And if you do, let's say your kid, breaks a leg in football or whatever, yes, it will be on you. But I'm just here to tell you, if you don't have insurance, it's way, way, way cheaper than if you do have insurance. If you were sick, this is the part. If your company could look at bulk discount rates for international healthcare, because international healthcare is something you could jump over to Canada or jump over into Mexico and get your healthcare there, and you could still afford it. If your companies do this now and put the time into it now, this is when they're planning for 2027 healthcare. These are two things that very impact you big financially. So, and the other thing I would say is this is FDIC was insurance put in through the bank after the first Great Depression. And that was when big failures occurred that you got something out of your banks, right? I am very leery if the Fed is reducing the regulations to make it harder to see bank failures, setting us up for the next crash. Like, go look at that article. I feel like it might be safer too to look at, let's say you have $300,000 put away for your retirement. If you were to, let's say, have 100,000 in one bank, 100,000 of it bank, and 100,000 bank, that might behoove you because maybe one of those banks survives, maybe two of them don't, but the two that don't, they give you something back out of that. You see what I'm saying? Like it might be a safer bet to reallocate that way. But again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just looking at the data going, oh my God, like not good. And no one is talking about it. I want people, if you go look at gold and you go look at silver, you guys, it's like at historic highs. And the only reason that goes high is right expectations.
Yeah.
If I could just say one last thing,
Yeah.
is just that for the police, you guys, with all the stuff that's happening, I think it would be really cool if someone who knows a lawyer, if they were to create a contract that we could have that anyone in the United States could use with their local communities that says that, whether it's National Guard, whether it's state force defenses, which are basically Minutemen, whether it's state troopers or your local police, that they would sign this document. It's a contract stating that if ICE comes to their area and they have a judicial warrant signed by a judge, they will help. If not, they will not help. If they see illegal behavior, such as beating, such as breaking into cars, breaking into houses, beating, whatever, changing out license plates, if they see illegal behavior, they will arrest. So they will be fired, and they are not allowed to be rehired into ICE for 7 years, because right now ICE has funding for 7 years. I feel like that's a contract that we have all of our local police sign because they are our employees to try to protect ourselves. And if we do know of good sheriffs out there, they can deputize general public, right? So that they could do that, so that you could take care and defend your communities. So I'll shut up with that.
Well, you don't need to shut up. I
I
think that
wanna
was all
s-
great information. I want to offer, and Nick has something to say, so I'll give it to him really quick. But I want to offer
mine's
support.
super short.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
offer support for everything you just said because I also look at all of these things, so I have a lot to support what you're saying.
Yeah, and Shane, I want you to start going into that after. I just want to make sure that that last point that AC just made about sheriffs and local police departments is we saw the response from the Minnesota National Guard
Which is good.
this weekend, which was amazing.
It
They
was.
came out in bright green vests, no masks, faces visible, protecting and serving the community. They came out to support the community, the protesters, the people, the citizenry. They didn't come out to support ICE, and that was very clear. They made it very, very clear that they were there to protect their community and the people within it and to maintain order and to maintain peacefulness. And community members are understanding that. They brought donuts and hot chocolate.
Donuts
they
and hot
did.
chocolate.
And
Hot chocolate was
hand
awesome.
warmers
It's
and
the most Minnesotan thing I've ever
yeah.
heard.
It's
I'm
awesome.
surprised they didn't come with freaking Minnesota salads, whatever delicious ass Snickers salad that they make that will kill you through a heart attack and artery clogs. But that's what AC is saying though about the sheriffs is really, really, really valuable and important. We've been talking about this is the Second Amendment in the United States, and this is not a gun rights advocacy. The Second Amendment in the United States guarantees citizens the right to create militias, well-regulated militias. Those militias often look like poll watchers or folks who are bringing folks to and from voting. Those are well-regulated militia groups or organizations that protect and defend people. And if you have a sheriff in your community that is about preserving and protecting the rights of its citizens and defending its citizens, absolutely reach out. If you don't know your sheriff's point of view, reach out too and see if what their view on it is. Are they there to protect the people, or are they there to protect ICE? And that's a
And if
very big distinction.
and if they're going to be protecting ICE and you know that, okay, do understand your local communities, they are employed by you and you can recall them and have a new election and get someone else in there. But I
Yeah, I think
feel these
there's
contracts
28
would be a
states
really good idea.
that allow for recalls. So if you're in one of those states, absolutely do that.
And
I'm
if your
looking
state
to.
doesn't allow recalls, you should be pushing for them for
Yeah.
citizen led petitions to create recalls. That's one of the mechanisms that democracy needs, is a recall mechanism, so that if our and when our public servants are not doing their jobs, they lose their jobs because they serve us, not themselves. And that's a big important point. So, but I want to go into the finance part and protecting how you can, because Shane, you talk about this a lot too, is the markets and the impacts of crypto plus other things that are going on in the world right now, and how they're all colliding together to purposely crash the US dollar.
Yep.
Um, and we need to protect ourselves. So Shane, I'll hand it over to you and AC to go into more depth into this, and I'll add on as we go,
Sure.
and then we'll move into the data breach after we talk about some of this, because that's going to be important
I
information
also
about
have
protecting.
I also have updates on everything that Palantir and Earl Teal has done in probably the last 3 or 4 months, particularly in January. I did prepare that. So I can share that with you guys as well, because of course this is Palantalk. These are important things to know and to talk about, as well as I've been reading over them, all very significant, all very telling of things we need to be watching out for. And just underscoring the importance of basically having a federal government that's willing to deal with this level of integration by private businesses, because it's pretty concerning. But like American Citizen, they said a lot of really good things, all things that I agree with. I can tell you that I don't have a lot of money. All right. And over the weekend, the value of my metals went up probably 10 to 15%. Okay. And I'm talking about metals. So if you're looking at metals don't stop trading based on the stock market, right? So if you're holding a physical metal, which, full transparency, I have moved every dollar that I have saved over the last 7 years. I'm 25. Okay. I don't have a whole lot of money. Okay. I'm not on the verge of retirement. And like stated here, I'm not making decisions with $300,000. I'm not making decisions with my life savings. I'm not in that situation. What I can tell you is that today, on open of the stock market, it's up somewhere in the realm of, I can check right now because I've been watching it, because I was watching over the weekend, because I was very interested to see. Last I checked, it was up, and I'm just going to reference silver. So my silver holdings today are up 12%. So here's what I can tell you. Silver surged all weekend. Gold surged all weekend. Silver has hit record high after high after high over the last 3 or so weeks. American Citizen mentioned the Bank of Japan, divested in NVIDIA. You see the price of these metals don't move. It's an indicator, right? When you see a flight to physical assets that are not tied to the dollar, the question has to be, why is that happening? I've talked about this number before. Those of you guys who know me, the number being $1.3 trillion is about how much was put into AI since 2022, starting with OpenAI investment and that rapid growth we've seen in the big seven as they've been circularly investing in each other. Oracle into NVIDIA. NVIDIA gets paid by Google. Google orders chips from NVIDIA. NVIDIA orders data center, services and obligations to NVIDIA. It goes on. And so now you're seeing these multiple trillion dollar valuations. So what I can tell you is that all of the indicators point towards a massive collapse. You also see in the geopolitical community that trade partners are divesting from the United States, literally, and from a futures economic perspective. A big part of our GDP is our defense industry. Okay. Many companies and countries in particular, our allies who would traditionally buy these weapons are no longer buying these weapons, partly because we cannot deliver on those weapons. We owe Taiwan $32 billion in unrealized weapons purchases. The same goes for just about everybody else. Our manufacturing sector is showing negative orders, or basically flat orders, which means people are not ordering. When you're economic, when you're these advisors, I feel like they have a vested interest in keeping your money in things that benefit the bank, not necessarily benefit you. We're going to see a retail collapse. For example, Saks Global just declared bankruptcy. Very, very famous department store. You're looking at, there's a ton of bankruptcies coming up, including like sporting goods, a lot of stores and things that you'd be like, oh, these are very normal. They're closing these stores en masse. Over the course of 2025, the idea that they push was that because GDP growth was positive, because consumer spending was up, the narrative was that the economy is growing. And it's because of spending, but it's really important as we look at our economy to make two distinctions. So there's real and then there's nominal. So nominal means if you're just looking at a number and it says, yep, okay, cool, it's going up. Nominal says 6%. That's great. Real says, well, yes, it's up 6%, but you account for, reduced consumer spending and inflation and the cost of goods going up because of tariffs. And suddenly that is actually not a number. You're actually seeing less goods bought and less goods sold for a higher price. So that gives the illusion of GDP growth, but it's not. Understand that we've been doing this for a fucking year, since April, really. Since the Liberation Day, we've been doing this. All these businesses are in paralysis. They have not been able to make a decision. And the reality is tourism as well. Every industry you can think of. And I want you to also consider that the Boycott America movement has spread from Canada now to Europe following the Greenland action. So there's the official effects of direct policy, but there's also the cultural effects of the world choosing to move away from American products in general. The United States has proven itself to be unreliable in meeting its obligations to its defense partners. The reason they can't give Patriot batteries to Ukraine is because they can't replace them, right? These are the discussions that no one's having. The narrative on Wall Street is one of slowed growth or a cold job market. The reality is very different, in that you're just seeing a slow suffocation of the United States economy. I guess the best analogy I can give you is those chambers where you have a oxygen chamber, and they put the United States American in the chamber, and they've just been lowering the oxygen content for the last year. Eventually it's going to suffocate, particularly the $1.3 trillion into the AI bubble with the $1.1 trillion approximately of unrealized, undelivered services or products. This is $1.1 trillion in IOUs and $1.3 trillion of investment. I just saw that Google posted a $3.1 billion loss on its OpenAI investments for the Q 2026 first quarter. Okay. First quarter, or like first 2026 earnings report. All of these things point toward a systemic collapse of the United States economy. And it's because of the fascists, techno-fascist policy, and the extraction model, because the United States economy was driven by growth, particularly in services and consumer goods.
And I think
Go
I
ahead,
think
please.
there's a few other things I'd just like to just throw in. And this is amazing information, you guys. So like subscribe to Shane and Nick. But I look at a few things like the only sector over the summer that was growing was healthcare. And yet we are now going to be pulling stuff from the ACA. We're going to be pulling stuff, that 500 billion, half a trillion from Medicare next year. And in December 2028, it's almost a trillion. I want to say it's something like $940 billion. So healthcare is going to go in the shitter. And then you have, there's another bill they want to, it's like the HR2, it's like the big bill 2, and where they want to take supposedly another $1 trillion out of our safety nets for us, right? But I look at other things like the crypto, right? The Genius Act that they passed over the summer, the Genius Act for the billionaire bankers, and where you can put money into a bank and then, like we used to do, they can change it to crypto though. And after they change it to crypto, then they can buy our US Treasury bonds, our debt. And then this is the part where it gets really funky. They take that fee, great, but they can take that fee and buy more of our debt. I believe if I've read it correctly, the people, when the banks fail, they get their money back first is the crypto, the crypto that they're using to buy in. So they're going to make money while we go further and further in debt. And then when the banks fail, they'll get their money pulled first. That's how I read that. Like, it feels like it's just a setup to fail. And these AI data centers, if you want to look at some of these contracts, who's going to pay if those AI data centers fail? Is it the billionaires or us? Because I'm looking at these substations that have to be upgraded for them to use the AI data centers. And a lot of that money we are paying them welfare checks for. And then they want money for the jobs they're bringing in, which are only temporary jobs. So basically we're paying to build their businesses. And then they offset the utility costs onto all of us because, billionaire sponges don't want to pay for their own stuff. So they need another welfare check. And then they take our data so they can profit off from it. And then if the data centers fail, who do you think is going to be holding that bill? I don't think it's going to be them. I just see a lot of the stuff built in so that either we're going to end up, in a tanked economy where we have to rely on them for everything. And either you go into slave camps like they're building in Utah, or you have to go in the military because we have Palantir, Meta, and OpenAI now have their 4 leadership positions as lieutenant colonels of our military. So for-profit companies running our war machine, and they are the ones who profit off the war and the later surveillance. And they only care about the profits. So that's how I see this going, just from my perspective and opinion.
Let me support your position with real data because that's always important. So let me give you a couple things here. These are recent integrations either in Q4 of 2025 or Q1 of 2026. Project Maven has been renewed. This is the Palantir's full command and control system that basically operates as everyone between the guy pulling the trigger and the top people in HQ in the Pentagon. Okay, this Project Maven. They were given $795 million contract to renew it with the Department of Defense. And now they are the AIP backbone for all U.S. military intelligence targeting, drone feeds, satellite imagery, and to identify targets for kinetic action. They just were handed the keys to basically U.S. military strikes because it's very easy if you really wanted to change that if you own the AIP, as Nick could tell you, I'm sure. The ship OS and logistics, Palantir was awarded $448 million for ship OS, a logistics modernization effort by the U.S. Navy aimed at fixing the supply chain for nuclear submarines. across the world. You saw that Palantir is now integrating into Australia, particularly through Anduril, which just entered the military tech production system in Australia. So those are just a couple examples. There's lots of examples of different integration into the 75th Ranger Regiment, the Marine Attack Corps, Marine Corps Attack Drone Team, which was recently made. All of this under the Drone Works, which is a Peter Thiel network founders fund Thiel Fellowship company run by people who you can trace directly back to Peter Thiel. So you're seeing right now at this point a parallel system within the Pentagon that demonstrates basically that you have private companies entirely running in potentially parallel or superseding with bare minimum with the ability to supersede top leadership in the U.S. military. You could very easily misdirect a unit with something like Maven. You could very easily misdirect a commander. You could misconstrue orders or just accidentally push an order that maybe no one ordered on accident, right? Anything is possible. So, with these things too, you're seeing these companies integrate and all of this. I want to also add with crypto, it's an important point. Crypto is such an interesting gamble. And you mentioned these data centers. And it's this idea of a phantom capacity. So you have a data center sitting somewhere in the desert in fucking Idaho, okay? And it's sitting there. But the problem is there's no power. You can't power the data center, okay? So the idea is if you want to power the data center, you need all of these rare earth elements or steel, a certain type of steel to build the infrastructure in this area. I also think it's worth noting that a lot of these places we're seeing actually right now where they're building these data centers tend to be in red states because obviously permitting is easier. They have connections. Well, we're looking at a storm right now that's really fucking decimating a huge part of the United States. It's this idea of a freeze. I could go into detail about why it's happening, but I won't. But what I'll tell you is that I was looking at pictures yesterday of of all of the power lines in Mississippi, and they froze solid and collapsed. So you're looking at a country that already has terrible infrastructure. Our infrastructure sucks.
Yes.
It's very bad.
Yes.
It's vulnerable. It's already vulnerable to climate collapse that's going on right now. It's vulnerable to that already. And now you're dealing with this phantom capacity crisis, right? They need things that China is not letting them get because of United States economic coercion and aggression, which China had a plan for. So now you're looking at this phantom capacity. You're looking at this bubble. And when they say $1.3 trillion was invested, it's this idea of a vibe economy, right? They're like, yeah, they're saying they're bolstering U.S. tech manufacturing, but there's not actually a factory. There's just a $4 billion promise with no end in sight.
Yep.
This is what we're looking at. This is why this economy is going to explode. And it's also interesting because this also directly affects crypto, because crypto is not profitable if mining is more expensive than the coin itself. So what you're seeing is this effect on their plan in crypto viability, because they're not able to mine the crypto here, at least domestically, and have that be profitable. And as the cost of tech around the world is inevitably going to increase because of the abundance of things I talk about every day, this is going to affect crypto's validity as well. So, it's interesting.
What do you think about the crypto insurance industry?
Crypto insurance?
Yes.
I think that's a scam. I think having crypto in general is a fucking scam at this point.
Here's the thing. I've never had crypto, and I absolutely agree with you. My issue is I really feel they are going to crash the dollar. I really feel they are going to crash the economy. And so, I am trying to put things in the three things I said in that letter is I'm not a financial advisor, but could you get things like rare earth minerals, energy, and international stocks? that these three things would help us, because it will be a global recession, but it will be horrendous here is my feeling. I think it will be worse than the first Great Depression.
I agree.
So
I
Yeah.
agree entirely.
so I'm just trying to find little caveat niche areas where there might be a little safety. That's what I'm trying to do.
It's metals.
Yeah.
It's precious metals.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like this is my advice to you. Okay. And it's advice. It is not an instruction. I am not going to say that there's not risk in doing anything with your money. Okay. I am not an oracle. What I'm telling you is that precious metals are only going to become more rare, not only for their use in manufacturing, but because of an abundance of reasons in the lower aspects, those early parts of the supply chain, and a concerning trend I'm seeing in Africa of essentially paramilitary groups, terrorist organizations seizing mines. It's this idea of having capital ownership of a resource does not guarantee that that resource is going to be produced under you, right?
That's what I've been doing is the hard minerals. That's what I put in that letter, and that was the first thing I put in there, because like iridium and and a bunch of other things are. I totally agree. I was just trying to find another niche if I could find one. But I know that Nick had some really good information about this cybersecurity issue over the weekend, and did you guys want to talk about that too?
Yeah. And AC, can you send me a link to the specific article you're talking about so I can show it in the post notes too? Because I know we've had a couple folks ask about where they can read it and make sure that they get that information
Yeah.
too. 'Cause
The stuff I
it
talked
is-
about today, I will send you the links, and then you can add it to this live later.
Perfect. I really appreciate that. And so, yeah, I want to shift gears a little bit here for the last 15 minutes before we go into our space talk, is talk about some of the news that came out over the weekend that is not in the news right now, that should probably be in the news. And I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. Hopefully it still has my screen share going. See if it pops up. Give me a second. Oh, there it is. Turning this on. There we go. Okay. So over the weekend, on Saturday morning, before everything happened in Minnesota, before Alex Preddy was murdered by ICE agents in Minnesota on Saturday morning, multiple outlets reported that there was a massive data breach across 150 million unique login credentials for services like Gmail, Yahoo, Facebook, TikTok, iCloud, Netflix, Binance, which is a crypto exchange site, and many, many, many more. And my recommendation on this to minimize the impact of this is, if you are a member or have a account with any of these services, change your passwords.
Yeah.
Add a passkey. Do the thing that adds the secondary redundancy so nobody can get in and nobody can steal your information, because this is going to lead and has led to information being stolen. And I'm going to show the ground news conglomerate information that I got together, and I'll show you. This will be a peek inside of what I have started looking at for news sources and how I get some of my news, thanks to Dean Blundell and Zev Shalev for their discount code for ground news. This is where I found this out. I got a pop-up Saturday morning and just got a notice that said whole bunch of account leaks, data breach. So Jeremiah Fowler, a cybersecurity research, found an exposed database holding 149 plus million unique usernames and passwords, searchable via web browser and accessible without authentication, which means they can just go in there. That's called being in the clear. That means your password and your information is visible for others to see, others to access. And that includes Gmail, 48 million from Gmail, 17 million in Facebook, 6.5 million on Instagram, 4 million on Yahoo Mail, 3.4 on Netflix, 1.5 million on Microsoft Outlook, 900,000 Apple Cloud accounts, 780,000 TikTok, 100,000 OnlyFans. You are at risk right now on the internet. We need to have a coordinated effort of everybody in our communities to change your passwords, to secure them. If you do not have a secondary form of authentication for your email, get one. Get an authenticator app, add a passcode in, add a biometric scan that you can do of a passcode that is unique to you that nobody else can access. Like you need to have your redundancies in there because you're going to get phishing attempts from this. This type of thing is going to lead to your people's bank accounts being exposed or being accessed. This will lead to your, if you are on OnlyFans, this could lead to your private images and your private data that you are allowed to keep and distribute being distributed without your consent, which means revenge porn, which is illegal, which is a crime to release images of individuals that are in compromised positions that you don't own that in access to or you don't have the right to release. This is going to lead to damage. This is how folks in minority communities like trans community or just in the sex worker community in general get outed and get targeted. This is dangerous. So if you know individuals who are on these sites, recommend to them that they change their passwords, that they very clearly check all of their information. And if you do not have an Incogni account, I am not sponsored by them in any way. Banner and Backbone is not sponsored by Incogni in any way. However, if they'd like to sponsor us, please, it's open. My invite's open, bros. Like come hang out with us and sponsor us, because if you do not have an account that allows you to delete some of your information off the internet or prune information that has been leaked off the internet and the dark web, get an account that does that. Pay for it. It's worth the money to have a monthly subscription or an annual subscription to somewhere like Incogni that will help you delete your data from the internet, because you probably have yourself exposed and you don't even know it.
Yep.
So what do you guys think on that and what's going on? And it's getting this type of information out there. Plus also, how do you help ensure that your community, I know this might be more of a question for you, Shane, is how are you going to help ensure that your community knows this information and is able to spread it so that others can be protected and safe as well?
I want to give our guest a chance to speak first, and then I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead, AC.
So, I guess I would have a question in regards to, I've heard Delete Me that is pretty good, that I've heard several people use that go through and I would want to look at Incogni that you're talking about and Delete Me and compare them and see which might be better.
Yeah. You know, it's a good point. Is like there's different ways to protect yourself. Among them, Incogni. Something I've been putting off. After today, I'll make sure I talk with my partner as well. And you know, Incogni or Delete Me. I'm going to talk with my partner, and we're going to figure out how to do that as soon as possible. The reality is that not only do we live in a country and a world where your data is an asset that is being bought and sold.
Yes.
You know, look, the marketing world is a cesspool. In fact, it should be fucking functionally illegal, the amount of data that they use to track you and do these things every day. You know, device IDs should be private. In my opinion, I do not think you should be able to target a device ID based on internet traffic. I think that should be illegal. You know, things can help. You can get help with that with VPNs. Use VPNs to, you know, make it so that they don't, you know, have easy access to those things. It makes it a little bit harder. And, you know, private messaging apps. Okay. If you want to protect, like, use Signal, use Proton Mail.
Proton.me is the one. And that's what I was going to say, is that's encrypted, you guys. It's not in the United States. I know
Yep.
people who they've, government has come after them and they couldn't get the records from proton.me. So I've been trying to make my private stuff over that email and then whatever in my Gmail, because I just feel like you have Gmail and you have TikTok and you have, look at who owns all this stuff, you guys. I almost feel like, are they allowing it? Because we had the whole Doge break in, take all of our information, take our social security numbers. They gave it to different parties and none of these assholes are in jail. I mean, I have a real question, and here's a real question. You have this was a Daniel Burlesque, who was a government official, who said as soon as Doge broke into the government databases, as soon as they did that, IP address from Russia stole a bunch of data. They didn't shut it down. They didn't investigate it. And at that point, I have to ask myself, it's a question, is did they sell our data? So, I look at this and go, do you trust, Zuckerberg? Do you trust? I mean, I'm just saying, like, Ellison, these are the guys that are trying to screw us all over. So,
It's interesting. You make a good point. And like this is kind of what I say to people at this point when they ask me. They're gonna take everything. They're gonna take it all. There's nothing really you can do other than insulate yourself as much as possible with the things we're talking about, but they're gonna get it all. As much as they can, unless you move things out of the system. What I think the focus should be, and maybe this is a thing. This is something I'm going to try. I found my local congressperson. I'm going to track the guy down. I'm going to trap him in his office, and I'm going to sit down with him and see if I can make him.
Oh no, we lost Shane.
yeah. Well, I'll say this with this, you guys. If you want to look into some things, there's something called an Orange Pi. It's a computer. It's not made in the United States. It doesn't have a backdoor built into it. What I've read and could learn and glean. And you can go to your local college, computer department, find a geek there, give them $50, and they could download Ubuntu, which is Linux, and then they can download either Open Office or they can download Red Hat, which are basically free versions of Windows, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access databases free. You don't do a monthly thing. And all that data isn't being scrubbed by AI for all your information. And then you can use something like Tor or Brave to search the internet instead of Chrome. And then you get yourself a proton.me email account. I feel like that's one good thing you can do. You can also look into getting a Pixel phone. You get Graphene operating system, put it on your laptop. Go to a fast food joint that has Wi-Fi that you don't normally go to, download the Graphene operating system onto the phone, and then you use Phreeli, P-H-R-E-E-L-I, P-H-R-E-A, I'm sorry, R-E-E-L-I. That's basically, and I didn't come up with this name, it's a double-blind armadillo way of paying. So the only thing that they know about you is your zip code, period. And
So
those
what
are
is
ways
this
to.
called? How did you spell this?
So you can get a Pixel phone, and then you go and you get Graphene operating system on your laptop. You go to a Wi-Fi that you don't normally use, and you download the Graphene from the laptop onto the phone, and then you can use a payment system for using your phone that doesn't. It's not tied to your name. It's called Phreeli.
P-H.
Reeli for real.
P-H-R-E-E-L-I. Freely. Okay. That's all great information. That's great information. That's really fantastic. All I was gonna say earlier before I guess I was unceremoniously booted,
Nick.
by the internet. The internet said no.
The internet's mad at us today.
And in the wake of everything that we're seeing, I think one of the things we can do with this is go to your. It's one thing to call and do all this. I'm going to physically go to his office. I'm going to try and find him. See if you can force them to like sit down with you, be like, hey, but I think a big part of privacy also, when you visit a website, go to your cookie settings. They're always going to be set for you to share all of your data. Okay. Like you'll see the click and it'll say, oh, marketing data and private data or whatever. Just select your cookies to make sure they're not looking at the optional cookies. Okay, it's a really easy thing to do. But I think, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Nick, but what if these people, even if you could pressure an American citizen too, if you could pressure your Congress people, even if it's not going to have any chance, but you get this barrage of potential legislature in Congress that is pro regulation, right? Like these are regulatory measures, this is legislation, and it's like legitimacy, right? Like it's this idea of like, sure, that's not going to pass, but we want them to report on the past that they voted against Americans having fundamental data privacy rights, like things like that, right? I mean, it's like a legitimacy game.
I think if you go in and do it, this is what I would say. First off, I went several times over the last 6 months, and I found out they don't go to work on Mondays and they don't go to work on Fridays where I'm at. They're only there Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and that's when they're not on break. But if you're gonna go, my suggestion would be do an OpenAI, deepai.com, whatever, and do a search for what are the donors for the political person that you're looking for. And then when you go in, you know the products that those donors sell. And when you go in, you say, we are going to start a boycott of your donors if you don't start looking at this. And you actually have it in hand so that they know there is a capitalist way to move back on it. That would be my suggestion, but that's just my 2 cents.
It's great. I'll write it down.
Yeah, and I want to double down on that point is the best way to influence a politician is not by telling them what issues you care about. It's by telling them that you'll boycott or impact their bottom line through their donors.
Yes.
So find out donor lists, and you can contact donors too, as long as you are not telling them that they cannot donate to, or they have to specifically, like, you cannot tell them specific legislation or things like that on donors, but you can say, hey, does this align with your company values? Here's your company's mission statement. Here's what you're supporting. Does this align with your values, or are you defrauding your investors? And the second they start getting the idea of fraud from their investors, because that costs them billions, that can cost billions of dollars for a company, millions to billions is investor blowback. We need to protect ourselves by boycotting in targeted ways, by focusing our efforts on the donors, on the donor class, and that will impact the political class, because when they start losing money, the only thing they care about is their bottom line. So if we force them to lose money, that's why they put in NSPM 7, that National Security Presidential Memo 7. That's why they put in that little line that says capitalistic boycotts or whatever, hurting capitalism, anti-capitalism,
American values,
makes you a terrorist.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you that it does not.
No.
I'm going to tell you very openly that the idea of boycotting is your First Amendment right to speech. You have the right to say no to a company. You have the right to say no to the government, and it's your speech to tell them fuck off. They don't get to call you a terrorist.
I think this is the thing with this too, you guys, is when you talk to these donors, you make sure you bring up 3 names. You bring up Target, bring up Disney after Kimmel got kicked off, and Tesla. And that is the power of the public. And that is what a boycott could do to you. And then you go in with, this is what we want done. We want change. And you can be stealing all our money so you can get more tax breaks and we get less when we're is bullshit. We're not putting up with it anymore. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I want to add one final thing here, and it's that look in your communities, organize, and obviously after Alex and for this weekend, there's the anger, there's the just raw, visceral rage of watching that execution, seeing those images, and it's upsetting. And there's a lot of discussion about a lot of things. And I'm not here to tell you what the right answer is. What I'm telling you is that one of the things that can happen, what has to happen, what the people of Minnesota demonstrated on that same day was the ability to strike, a real strike. Now, what you need to strike is infrastructure. That's what we're missing. If people are going to stop working, they need to have food. They need to have community. They need to feel safe and secure. The focus in your community should be to build that infrastructure. You need to build infrastructure. You do not win a war without logistics. We need logistics. We need to figure out if there is a very wealthy person, okay, in your town, someone who is philanthropic. Go to them and say, hey, can you help buy enough food for 2 weeks for my neighborhood? Go to those people, create a food bank, make that food bank, make those things you need, get those funds, go to your local charities with money, go and get the capital that is out there in your community. Like anything else, you're selling resistance. You need to sell a strike in your community and you need to build the infrastructure. There's ways to do that. Every city in the country has a Reddit. Okay. I know maybe a lot of you don't know what Reddit is, and that's okay. Reddit is like a open forum for everything under the sun, but also there is millions of people on Reddit. If you're in your community, you don't know what to do. You're confused about how do I get involved? How do I support? Go to your Reddit. Go to Reddit San Diego and ask, just say, hey, I want to get involved in my community. I want to help start a strike. How do we do that? And someone will respond to you, or someone else will say, I also want to do that. Just do it. Like, it's at the point where, I don't have an answer for you. I don't think that things are going to go our way, and we need to make our own way. And that is, that's the difference. Just this morning, ICE using non-lethal rounds blew off the finger of a protester in Minneapolis. It's a horrific video. I think everyone can still watch it.
Horrible. Oh my God.
But you can see she's like missing the top of her finger. And as she's running away, right? Like this is going to, and if you're in the San Diego area, reach out to me. Let's coordinate. Let's do those things. Okay. So,
can I say one thing here?
Please.
I think people need to start creating business co-ops, and you start getting in your community and you make your own grocery stores, and you could sell food basically at cost. I also think that there's a one in Flint that has done that, you guys, Michigan. And I've been trying to contact them through emails to see like what are the documents? Did they set it up as an LLC or a C corp, or how do you basically profit share with all the employees? The employees are the owners, and that's how you get a living wage, and that's how people get fed. But I also think too, and I've been bringing this up in my lives, is that the unemployment is going to go through the roof, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be hungry. So even if you don't need it, or you don't think you need it now, is plant gardens. And in February, what you can do is get some squash, get some tomatoes, get some peppers. Guess what? All of those things have seeds in it. You plant them at the end of February. You put a little bit of water on it. You put some saran wrap over it. You put it in your windows. And by, sometime in March, what you're going to see is they're going to be about an inch tall. And at that point, you pull off the saran wrap and you water it. By the time you need to plant it in May, you don't have to buy plants. You already have plants. You can plant them in open areas that, open lots that no one uses. You can plant them along the sides of parks. You can you make food gardens is what you can do. And if you are, let's say, in an apartment, you can get what's called vertical gardens. And on a small deck, you could probably put 4 gardens in there, and you could get things and put the squash, and the squash could go around the railing. Like you could actually subsidize the food that you're eating, because I'm here to tell you, as the value of our dollar goes down, the value of food will go up, and it's basically like planting money.
So, yeah, and our imports, all of those things, right? A lot of them are subsidized, tied to the dollar. Okay, so understand that there is, look, that's just how I have to say this. This is how I have to view this to be sane. Okay, so ultimately these things are going to happen. Understand that the end goal, and Lawrence Winterman did a fantastic article, Nick, I think you should link it, about demanding common goals. We need to have a unified demand. What needs to happen, this is my firm belief, is that we need to reassert control of the federal government. We need to seize trillions of dollars in assets. We need to federalize everything they have put into the Pentagon, that needs to belong to the people. That means their technology. That means all of this land that has illegally been bought in the United States through the means of like that is owned by Qatar and Abu Dhabi, that is, annihilating our groundwater supply. Basically, I think at this point, the entire tech sector needs to become, like Nick has said this before, right? AI is a product of us all. We should be paid. It should support our UBI. All of this tech they have done, it should be federalized. And that's not crazy. That's not communism. That's practical because it's so corrupt. The only way to clean these things up is to stick a bunch of inspector generals in these companies. You need nonpartisan evaluation or oversight in a capitalist system. It just doesn't work without it. There's a bunch of ideas that we have. It's time to start putting those ideas down and pitching them, because now's the time for us to change. We cannot change without direction. So that's the other big thing.
This is what I think we Alexander Hamilton this bitch. That's what I've been saying for a while.
Absolutely.
And we yoke it to the damn rich who have milked us. And I gave that AI data example where what we are paying for the upgrade to the substations for these AI areas. We are paying for rebate checks, or basically the welfare check to build their company. We are paying. They're stealing our data. Then they're offsetting their utility costs onto us. Like, absolutely, that shouldn't be there. And as far as Elon and the Doge, they took all our data.
Oh, they
Are
stole.
they not being
That's our
prosecuted?
data.
Why don't we freeze their assets, prosecute them, and seize everything? And as far as if you guys, I don't know if you've listened to Mr. Global, he's been an ex-CEO of different fuel companies. I would consider him a subject matter expert of his area. And he was talking about something that I didn't realize. And he said, the grid, we're going to be putting over $1 trillion into upgrading that over this how many next years. And it's going to be something like $140 per person per month to do something like that. If we do what we're doing right now, and that is we, the people, are paying for the upgrade, and then we have to pay to use it. If we are paying for the upgrade to the grid to make the grid the grid, why are we paying these fucking assholes anything? We could actually only pay $8 a month instead of $140. That is us paying for something. Why the hell do we even have a rich person there just taking a toll? Absolutely.
This is a common theme too across so many sectors in the US. Is there's this middleman, this insurance system that sits right in the middle and handles all the price gouging and price inflation and puts it back on us. And I advocate very strongly for a wealth minimum and a wealth cap, because like Shane just said on things that I've talked about before, is we own that data. That's our data. It's our infrastructure. Our tax dollars have paid for all of it. Our tax dollars continue to pay for all of it. And our tax dollars are the things that are being used to line the pockets of these billionaires. We can take it back. We can take all that money back. Yes, it's going to suck for the billionaires and too fucking bad for them, because there should be a wealth minimum in this country.
There's no billionaires. Yeah. They don't exist. They can't exist. You can't get to $1 billion
without greed.
Without
and
greed.
Exploitation.
Even people are like Taylor Swift. So she gives a lot of money away. Dude, you don't need it. I mean, unless she's giving away 80% of her income. Taylor Swift could fund our general strike. She could do it. She could.
And that's an important point, is we need people to send money and actually fund these things.
Here's the thing, you guys, is okay, I had this other idea, and it's either Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, who, by the way, gave 20% of her net income to feeding the people this year in 2025.
Yeah, she's fucking awesome.
I love Billie Eilish.
So what I have tried to put out there, maybe Mark Ruffalo, because he has been very vocal and he has money. What I was looking for is one of these guys to basically you go to the creator of TikTok or the creator of Instagram and say, hey, you already built the wheel, put a few bells and whistles on it, call it 2.0, only I'm going to own the son of a bitch, and I'm not going to have shadow bans, and I'm not going to have all these different, you don't have to have your driver's license on it, and we could make sure our communication system stays up so that we can continue having these discussions, right? Because Mark Andreessen is now on Substack, that we have something that isn't going to be shut down like TikTok is being done right now. So I'd like to get that message out to them. I actually went out to Reddit And I put out these little things to Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift saying, could you create something like that with a server in a different country where you would allow free speech and not push racism, sexism, and fascism? And so if we can get that message out too. So anybody on here who knows one of these people, or Mark Ruffalo, or anybody who, Keanu Reeves, I feel like he's a very philanthropic person, extraordinarily so, and that he would maybe be on board with something like that. If we could get someone like that to create, we could. By the way, Keanu Reeves actually countered Elon in regards to AI too.
I
Like,
saw that.
I
yeah,
love
that was
Keanu. What a good
he,
dude.
right, and that's what I'm saying is we have one of these guys, Billie Eilish or him, go through him and just go one of these creators. You guys, they already created the wheel. Within a month or two, they could have it up operational, and we could continue global communications, and we can have communications that aren't pushing strife, that are pushing mental health. Like we could, but we need that communication system so that we can get to these other things like food strike, right? But we need to be planting food, you guys. So get those seeds at the end of February and plant them in your, windowsills, put a little saran wrap over it, and start. We all need to be doing that so that we can create free food within our own systems over the summer, right? Things like squash, things like potatoes, things like carrots or peanuts. These are things you can have over an entire winter. So we need to be thinking ahead. I'll shut up.
Here's one thing that I'll put up on the screen here on the side as a QR code. Go to the 1A Collective and
Yeah.
submit there's really not much there right now. This is a site being built by a friend that we know and trust,
Yeah.
that is using offshore servers, that is the baseline and can be the baseline for something like this. We've already started it. We just need the funds. That's the thing is, if like, reach out, like AC just said, let's start tagging Mark Ruffalo. Let's start tagging him on a lot of things and being like, hey, we know you're an incredible dude. We know you give a lot to the pro democracy community. Help us expand this system that we've already started in place that we can have ownership of. That is a co op for the American people or for all people to be able to put out their information and put out their comments and feedback and discussion points, and we could make our own Reddit, basically our own chat area that is unique. This is something we have to push for. And AC, I'm glad you talk about it, because we're like, this is a parallel systems development setup that we're doing. We're fighting years and years and years of right-wing infrastructure development that we don't have. We need to have the smartest people on our side and the most capable people on our side who can do these things, focusing in. Like, I could code, yes, but is that the most powerful place for me right now? Probably not. But there are so many of you out there who are just as great and better and more proficient at what you do and can really help. And I know right now it's got to be donate time. Right now we don't have the funds to do it,
Yeah,
and you'd have to
that's very
donate, and we
true.
have to open source. That said, if we can get enough community attention from a Billie Eilish or a Mark Ruffalo or an unexpected pro democracy person, like if Keanu Reeves would be willing to fucking come on this show, oh my god, I would lose my shit. That dude is so fucking
I would cry
I would
too.
fan out so much on that dude.
He is
Like,
the epitome of intelligent masculinity.
Yes,
yeah,
he
oh my
is.
god, that would be
Yes, he
such a
is.
great
He is
great
intelligent
discussion. And
masculinity.
like, those are the people we need to be pressuring in the good ways. You don't come out hard and hammer them and say, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. We need more. You come out and go, hey, we need your support. You are doing so much already, but we need to ask more of you because
Yeah.
you have the wealth that we don't. You
Well,
have the systems and access that we don't, because maybe Mark Ruffalo doesn't donate all his money, but he knows a bunch of dudes and ladies and others who might be able to donate. He knows people in the industry who would be willing to give money. They just need a place to give it to.
see, and that's the thing is what I said to this is I made a meme. It was an open letter to Taylor and Billie Eilish, and I said, you know, what you could do is save democracy and not have, these shadow bans like, these tech bros have done. And Billie Eilish has actually talked out against Zuckerberg and Elon and those guys, okay? And that you could save democracy globally if you could do this and you could make money, if they did a TikTok or something like that, you understand all the youth, everybody would jump onto those platforms because it wouldn't just be they created it, that name brings them in as well, right?
Mhm.
So they could make money at it. Totally great with that, as long as you don't shadow ban, as long as you're not pushing this fascist lying bullshit. Great. We just want an honest platform that isn't going to say, here's a driver's license and we're going to, like, 1984 this shit. I just want to have something that's, allows for communication so that, yes, we do need food and yes, we do need these things, but if the communication systems go down, we're screwed. So, like, I think we need to focus on that and then get to the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
distill an idea here too, because I think there's a common theme here. One, uh, independence. You need to become independent as possible. That means from the power grid. That means if you can get some solar going, you can limit your dependency on the power grid, at least have a backup. Do that. I'm not saying get solar on your house and pay $1 million. I'm saying you can totally get some solar panels. You can totally rig something up. If you know somebody who can, like, do that. Get yourself some rain barrels. Okay. Collect and save your own water. Grow your own food. Look, this entire system works because we're entirely dependent on capitalism. We need to divest from what I am starting to call corporate fascism, because the capitalist corporate structure of the United States directly enables fascism. In fact, it can be exported, and we're seeing that with Anduril to Australia. We're seeing that all across the EU. And it's one of the things that's killing the EU, right? Divest from corporate fascism. Divest.
Yes.
Refuse to engage. The second thing is with your community, with the people around you. And if you had this idea, okay, a lot of people feel like it's not someone else is going to do it. Someone might do it. This is the moment where I'm telling you that no one else is going to do it. Assume no one's going to do it, because if you don't do it, then someone might not do it. And we can't afford to not have someone do it. So I'm going to make this offer. And like Nick said, there's no capital. Now, if you want to talk to me about potentially helping with research on the Firebrand project, potentially helping with a abundance of aspects that goes from video editing, that goes from social media management, that's a lot of things. Volunteering your time. I cannot pay you, but I can use the help. In fact, if you help me, I can do a lot more than what I'm doing now, because me and Nick and AC, we're burnt out. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. We're all fucking burnt. Like, the conversations are, I'm dead, man. Like, this sucks. We need help. We can't do it. And I'm admitting that to you. I'm saying I can't do it without your help, and I cannot pay you. But you can help if you want truth. You don't need to be front facing. Like, I've got 1,000 questions I write down a day, pages of them. Okay. And I can look at maybe 10, maybe 20. But in one day, what I can do is say, hey, you want to research? Take these questions. Go do that research, because I promise there's something there. We need your help. If you want to help on Banner and Backbone, Nick needs help with social media management. He needs help with editing. He needs help with proofing. He needs help with a lot of things. If you can and are willing to commit your time to this without the expectation of pay, because we can't promise you that. But
Yeah.
if you want help, like if you want to help, if you don't know what to do, we can use your help. So I will say that much. And so, if now is the time for action, reach out to me or Nick or whatever. And like, I have things, I promise you, I have things I can give you that we can look into. So, send us an email, send us a private message. What are your skills? What is your background? And understand, like, we can't really, we need you to provide a lot of these things up front, right? Like, we don't have time to come and do a lot of this like kind of figuring out the placement. Like, what are you good at? Come to us with what you're good at. What are your skills? And we can probably place you on something. But
Yeah.
you know, we don't have the time or the energy either to really go like, oh, what do you want to do? Like, decide what you want to do. What are you good at? And then come and enter in with that in mind.
And be bold when you come to us too. Like, it's okay to say, I'm good at this. I want to help.
Yes.
Like, I reach, and I'll tell you in all honesty, like, I'm doing that for other people too. Like, I've reached out to others and said, I'm good at this. And I'm putting proposals together on different things that say, I'm good at these things. Let me help you. Go do that too. Like, Shane is very right. We need your help. Like, I could not have done the broadcast that I did on Saturday without the community support of all of the folks who sent me videos, who texted me during the show and said, hey, here's a correction to the information, or here's new information that's come out. Here's a great link. Here's something that you can use. I'm trying to set up moderator accounts and different ways that we can expand on other platforms and get a larger and broader audience. But also, how do we get this message out on blast? How do we support each other and do the things? We have to flood the zone with our information, because if nobody else is going to do it, you have to be the one to do it. And it's okay to admit that you're good at stuff, and it's okay to tell other people, because unlike a corporate job, I want somebody to come in and say, hey, I can support you with this thing specifically. We'll take calendar management. And I'm going to shout out someone in the audience and one of our community members who is doing an incredible service for our community right now, and who is going to be, by the end of this week, we are launching a new website that's a simple site, but it's a calendar management tool for show deconfliction. And I'm going to be getting Shane's shows on there, so it's easier for him to manage, and it's easier for everybody to be able to view. So thank you to Courtney in our audience, who has volunteered a ton of her time to support me on Banner and Backbone and support building community tools. Thank you for that. Thank you for that
Courtney.
kind of help, because that's what I need. Like, I can give ideas, but I'm not going to write them all down. Like, I can't capture everything I think about in the day. But if we're having discussions and back and forths, and you come in and you say, this is what I can do, this is what I'm going to do. Like, if you have a GitHub organization or whatever code repository hosting site that you use, and you want to make an open source tool for everyone in the community to be able to benefit from, make it, share it, send it to me. I'll boost it. I know what code looks like. I can review code and say, hey, this looks trusted, or this looks like a great tool. I'm willing to test some code, but don't send me things that'll break my fucking computer, because then I will be super upset. And so will you guys when you don't get to see me anymore. So if you have ideas, like, send them. Tell us what you're good at and how you can support. Like, and I'm glad to increase Banner and Backbone's like contributor base. If you want to be listed as a contributor and donate some time and write articles on Banner and Backbone, or even volunteer to do live shows. Like, we had Melissa Corrigan and Shane Yirak. They're too busy to do the Rant Act anymore, which is totally understandable. But we have slots open. We've got show times open. We want folks to be on with us and working with us, because that boosts your audience numbers too. And that's really important right now. Like, we're literally streaming this on TVs. We are on TV now. On Apple TV and Google TV from the Google store. We're on TV now on Substack. We're all over YouTube. When I looked at YouTube over the weekend, one of the broadcasts that kept showing up as live was Banner and Backbone's coverage of what happened to Alex Preddy. I could not have put that show together in real time and with all of the video and all of the breakdown without community support. So I have a Proton mail that you all can reach out to. It is info@bannerandbackbone.com. If you reach out to me at info@bannerandbackbone.com, which is linked in all of our show notes, reach out to me. reach out to me. Say if you want to help Shane, myself, Banner and Backbone, doesn't matter. I will help forward you on to the right spot. I am a communication connector. That's my thing. I connect people. Like I like connecting people and I'm good at it. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. So if you are good at it and if you have skills that you know can help, come volunteer. I know we're asking a lot of folks in the community, but we do need your help because I can't spend 4.5 hours watching the same video of a man being brutally murdered and be okay every day. But I can have others in the community step in and help too, and take up the ownership when we're not there, and that's okay. And that's okay. So I know I've talked to folks for the Sick of This Shit publication side to help support there, and I have friends in my community that support there too. We need it for Banner and Backbone because this is going to explode. Banner and Backbone is going to explode in the best ways this year. We are growing rapidly. We have a lot of incredible contributors who bring so much good content, and we're going to get more and more of it out there. We're going to be pumping out as best we can. And if that content that comes out, flooding the zone with pro-democracy messages or flooding the zone with truth before the administration could come out, we came out faster than the administration did on
we
this.
beat them on
We
both.
came out
That's
ahead
important to note
of the administration on their propaganda. We beat them. We won. We won because we got the truth out there. Because all of these 2A circles and Reddit groups and sub and chat communities are all going. Alex Pretty should not have been murdered. He was rightfully carrying his. He was executed.
In
He
the
was
street.
rightfully legally carrying a concealed weapon, which he had the right to do. And he was not using, his hands were visible. He was disarmed before he was murdered. They disarmed him, and then 10 shots rang out. That was an execution. And we got ahead of their narrative. We beat the Trump administration and regime at their own game for the second time in a row. Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy. We beat their narrative. And that's because of folks like you guys in our community helping us, giving us these videos and saying, hey, this is going on. We need your support. We were out there. Boom. We reported on it all day. We defeated the narrative. You all defeated the narrative. And part of that defeating the narrative is supporting each other too. So we're right at the half-hour mark. I'm going to let you go.
I just want to say one thing. You guys, if any of you know anybody who's a lawyer or you are a lawyer, this whole thing, we need our local cops to be protecting us so that we don't have more goods and more pretties happening. If we had a contract that one of you guys could put up, give it for free throughout the United States, that we as the people could go and petition and say, we want these contracts signed by our local police saying that if they come in with a judicial warrant signed with a judge's signature, fine, the police will help. If not, they're not going to help. And if they do something illegal, they will be fired. And or you will be arresting them. And if you don't do that, then you are automatically going to be fired. And then you are not allowed to be hired in by ICE for 7 years because that's their budget right now. That right there, you guys, if we could have a contract like that, we could all go to our local police stations. We could go to these local community councils and say, this is a contract that we want signed by our local police to make sure that they are on our side, not on the side of people who are hurting us. I think that would be amazing if anybody could come up with that. So I'll shut up.
Yeah, you don't need to shut up. We don't shut up here.
Also, I have your QR code up here.
Yes.
AC, sell yourself a little bit for everyone in the audience, more so than you already have. You've sold yourself really well today. Also, just in general, go subscribe. There's really good information AC is providing us. And it's important that we create these parallel systems of support.
So here's me. I have no paywalls. I'm just trying to save democracy. So if you want free information, just subscribe and share the information, right? So the stuff I give out are ideas. The wealthy hoard their money, you guys. Don't hoard good data. Don't hoard the information. Get it out to as many people as possible. Restacking something doesn't cost you anything. Taking that copy button and putting it into a different platform does not cost you anything. And right now, they are paying the alt-right talking heads, millions of dollars to put out bullshit. We need you guys to start putting out the right thing, right? I mean, good information on multiple platforms. That's how we can try to counter this. And my content, like you see, it's like ways to try to protect ourselves, ways to start community, so thank you very much, Nick and Shane, because I love your content. I platform you guys. I say this, the Dre
Thank you.
dossier, Shane, Zev Shalev of Canada, and Shane should be nationally platformed for the content that they have. I feel like you guys are reporters that should, I mean, swear to God, should be on a national platform. And Nick, you do great work too, but I make sure I brought that up in multiple pieces of live. So please subscribe to these guys because they are amazing.
Thank you for joining us. I think you brought a wealth of information today. You made me think, and I always appreciate that. You made Nick think. You made everyone here think. Nick, you're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, I had a kid in the background. It's a snow day today, so we've got kids at home. But I think, AC, I want to have you back again. This was
Yeah,
a
for
great
sure.
conversation. And I'd love to continue to talk with you about support tools and how we can support you, how you might be able to support us, systems and growth that we can do alongside each other. So I dropped my email into the chat. Shane has dropped his email into the chat. I will make sure Shane's is also added into the post show notes, as just a common part of our post show is including emails for both Shane, myself, and Banner and Backbone, so that anybody can reach out to us if they have support ideas, if there's something that you want to offer as a support, come with an idea and say, hey, this is what I think I could do to help you. And for about 99% of it, we will probably say yes. There will be some things that might not be helpful, and that's okay. We might not need it, but somebody else might. And American Citizen has been helping us show that need and expose that. So thank you so much for being here. And then Shane, how about you, my friend? Sell yourself and the Firebrand Project.
So I've been here. I'm Shane. Obviously, a lot going on in the world right now. My commitment at the Firebrand Project is to bring you guys an excellent daily geopolitical newsletter. That's what I do. I do it well. I get better at it every day. I provide that with analysis to kind of give you guys an idea of what I think I'm seeing going on in the world. It's important. It affects us at home. It's very much impacting our economy. Understanding kind of why these things are happening, understanding how someone seizing 1,000 tons of uranium in some country in Somalia, how that affects the price of your investments here at home. It's about understanding the world. It's geopolitics. It's about changing the narrative to one of truth. Big thank you. Just going to shout out Catherine Bauer, who is the first analyst to join me on the Firebrand Project, and her spectacular work, particularly on Alex Preddy and the article she wrote when that came out was truly a fantastic piece of work. I'm proud to publish under her and her under the project as well. So guys, you want to come support us, come over, become paid and free subscribers. Like we said, it's hard to do all of this, especially nowadays. It just feels like it takes more and more time to cover all of these things as it gets crazier and crazier. So in particular, you can research me, find me at the Firebrand Project. You can click on that Chiron up there. Make sure you follow and subscribe if you're not already doing that. If you want to help out, what I can tell you right now is I would love researchers. If you are willing to commit time to doing open source research, let me know. That is 100%. If you say, hey, I want to come to you, I want to help with research, let me know. That's a great way to help. So all that said, guys, thank you for being here, for caring, for wanting to forge dialogue, for burning bright as firebrands. And make sure you guys support Nick and everything that he's doing at Sick of This Shit Publications. And he's going to put his QR code up here in a second. And then
I'm getting there.
Nick does such good work.
That's me.
He does such good work. His series on intelligent masculinity is phenomenal. And he, like you said, he's a communicator, he's a connector, he is a voice for those with chronic illness. He is a good person to, keep you a little stable, keep you grounded in these times. And he's what we need. And so make sure you support him and everything he does personally at Sick of This Shit Publication, so he can take care of his family, as well as do all the things that he does on a daily basis.
I appreciate you, Shane. And that pretty much sums it up is come join me at Sick of This Shit Publications. We're doing, like Shane said, it's a lot of mental health and wellness and well-being. I'm a chronic illness sufferer. I'm a disabled veteran. I am building a disabled community of disabled folks around me, so that we can keep a voice and spotlight on disabilities, and how we can build systems together, and support each other. And then, yeah, my big thing is masculinity, and taking on this fragile, weak masculinity that is pervading our society and destroying it. Because men, we're the problem. We got to fix it. It's you. You're the problem. Everybody knows it, and you need to too. So come join us. Come join me at Sick of This Shit Publications. We're rapidly growing. We just hit our first 250 paid subs there. And I
Nice.
just released the full recording of one of my first compositions that I'm releasing out, called Lento Vivo. It's a flute trio. Please go and take a listen to that. It'll calm your nerves for the day. It'll give you something joyful to listen to and relax to. So doing things like that, putting poetry, commentary, culture. Sick of This Shit Publications is more culture than it is politics in the end. And then finally, come support us here at Banner and Backbone, the network that's going to put it all together, that's going to drive this forward and going to help be a community. And Levy, yes, music. I was a I studied music theory and composition in college the first time I went, and I have multiple recorded pieces of music. I'm going to be putting another one out when I get every 50 paid subs from this point on. So when I get to 300, you'll get another piece coming out called Prelude, a Ballad Blue, which is a piano solo piece, and it's
Nice.
really pretty. Wrote that one in 2012 and got it recorded and played while I was in Paris, France, at a Music Alliance program, which was super awesome. But yeah, I do music over there. Banner and Backbone, though, is growing rapidly, growing really strong. You guys are the reason we grow. This network is community driven, community funded, and I'm putting together the tools that we need for team members and contributors to safely do what they're doing, but also get it out there as quickly as possible. And so after this show, look out obviously for our replay of today's episode. Please smash the hearts one more time before we all leave here for the day. I'm going to be including links and discussion points. I know we did not get to space talk today. That is totally fine. We will get back to it. And then look out, hopefully before the end of the week, for a new web page that's going to be coming out to help all of us on the contributor and community side stay connected.
Nice.
And so keep updates there. We're going to be hosting and working a lot. I'm trying to buy a bunch of URLs. Also, another cool thing you can do if you have the money for it, and there's URLs out there that need to be taken, so that right-wing fascists cannot take URLs like things about freedom or democracy or rights or dignity. Go buy those URLs. Don't do anything with them. Just go buy them. If there's Stephen Miller related URLs out there, go buy them. If there's Pete Hegseth related URLs out there, go buy them. If there's Russell Vogt URLs, go buy them. And then make sites. Go have fun. Go poke fun at them. Go do we're going to donate to this pro-life, or this real pro-life, like Planned Parenthood. We're going to donate to Planned Parenthood in the name of this person under their website from PeteHegseth.com or some shit like that, and just donate millions of dollars to Planned Parenthood or food systems. We're building those parallel systems now. So thank you, everyone. I know we kept a little bit long here today on Banner and Backbone and on Palantalk. I think it was super important that we did. AC, thank you so much for your support today and coming on. Cannot wait to have more discussions with you in the future as we continue to grow. And like we say here, I'll let Shane. Do you have any last words before
I
we
have
go?
one last word, guys. In 3 hours, the Firebrand Report is going to be live. So I do a live stream where I go over the contents of my newsletter every day. So if you're free in 3 hours and you want to know what the hell's going on around the world, come hang out with me in just about 3 hours. So, and like Nick says, here at Palantalk, we're all tech, but
No.
No fascism.
there you
All
go.
tech, no fascism.
No fascism.
We're going to work on that, Shane. We'll work on that so we get it better. We're only 20 something episodes in. We got to get this tagline right.
I pointed the wrong way. That's half on
I
me.
still haven't figured this out yet.
That
Like,
guy
I
over
still
there.
haven't figured the mirroring out yet. It's so weird. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate every single one of you. This has been such a wonderful day. Thank you to the holy shit 500 of you who are in our live stream on Substack right now. And thank you for the 7 folks who scanned the QR codes, the 4 folks on our other platforms we are streaming on: Substack, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Which I'm doing that one because, that's where a lot of people listen, and we've got to expand our audience into places that people are, even if we don't want to be there. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Join the resistance, fight the eagle jizz, and let's win this battle for freedom. Because here we like tech.
No fascism.
No fascism.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great
Thank you,
afternoon.
everybody.
All right, bye.